Right, good morning. How's everyone doing on histograms? Is histogram okay? As soon as you have questions on histogram, ask them. I don't know the exact best time to post Project 3. I don't think I've posted it yet. Oh no, yeah, that's a dead link. This is what the instructions will look like when you see them. Why am I showing you this? The way I perceive the Imageshop assignment, which is the next project, which you don't have to worry about yet, right? But maybe you should worry about it a little bit, you know? It's like, well, you shouldn't worry, right? But like maybe it's time to start thinking about it. So like that sort of area. When I broke it out into milestones, I did 4 milestones for what used to be milestone 4. And this is the histogram part. Why did I do this? Last year, the student that led the section leading program and now is going to get her doctorate, so like a student that did not have a hard time in a lot of classes here, asked me how to do this after having taught it for like 4 years. And I was like, oh, that's interesting, right? And that's because I gave it as a problem in another class where we were doing some other imaging. I was like, oh, just equalize it. You learned how to do that in CS1. It's like, oh, like, none of us actually figured that out ever. I was like, I think you'll figure it out. And the reason I think you'll figure it out is because I talked to that student who's talked to all of your predecessors, right, students in previous years, and we're like, oh, what's hard, what's easy, what explaining this works, and so on. And the last problem set with histogram comes out of that, so this is histograms. And you put all of this together, and it results in some like pretty cool results. So this is a grayscale image, but you can see that it's kind of like, we'll say like washed out over here, low contrast, all of the colors look about the same as each other. And then over here it's like vibrant, and there's like a lot of difference in color. I don't know. So this makes it easier to see where the trees are or something. This is like one of the only times I felt like I had to like write an equation. Some people don't like equations. I'm a big fan. I love those equations, right? Some people don't like them. That's okay. You don't have to like them. This is a good way to express what you should write code. So I'm introducing Imageshop today is the takeaway from this. And I'm introducing Imageshop today because I think more time to think about this is better. If I recall correctly, and I didn't look at my solution again, it's like not a lot of lines of code, right? But the lines of code have like a couple variables in them because you've got an array, and you're indexing into the array horizontally, and you're indexing into the array vertically. And what are arrays? Well, they're lists of lists, but we call them arrays, so it's like, okay, that's a lot of confusing things, right? And then you've got this other thing, which is the histogram, and what's that? Well, that's a list of numbers, but you're comparing the numbers in the list of numbers with the numbers in the array. It was like 4 lines of code, and it was like 20 variables or something, right? So kind of high complexity. And when things are high complexity, it's good to just think about them. Now you can break them out, and you can use local variable names for everything, and you can print out everything, and you can look at all of it. So you should use all of the same methods you've been using so far. If you've been struggling to figure out whether your code is going to work or not so far, it will be harder on this assignment. This is an increase in difficulty, specifically at milestone 4. Okay, so you have problem set 5 for Monday, and you have project 3, of which work on problem set 5 is setting you up for success. So you have already started, and that is for next Monday. I'll probably post that sometime today. Is anyone ready for project 3? Should I get it posted right away? Okay. All right. If you're not in that camp, do good work on problem set 5. Make sure you understand it. Don't take shortcuts. Feel good about your code. Get it turned in. Maybe talk to your peers about what they did. See if there's some good ideas. Show it to people. See if it makes sense. All of these things. And all of that will get you ready. Okay. I think we're going to go back over writing and reading files again, because that's it's like maybe this one or something. Yeah. I just want to make sure we're comfortable with that. So, have any of you gone out and tried to write and read a file from Python yet? Okay, so we're going to go over again. Let's go ahead and open VS Code, and it should be all of the stuff we had for last time. Do you all remember the mountain? Does this look familiar? Perhaps mountainous, right? And how did we do that? Well, we had a mountain.jpg. I wonder what mountain that is. Do you think is it just like Mount Everest or something? Okay. Yeah. I bet it's a picture of Mount Everest. But we should refer to that Mount Everest by its original name, which is Chomolungma or Sagarmatha, I think. I don't know. There's a Nepalese and Tibetan name, and I don't know both of them that well. Anyways, okay. So we've got this stuff around, and I think we should do it again, because I'm nervous that if we don't do it, we won't know it. Okay, so here is the W3 Schools demo. And I'm going to begin by just taking the first 3 lines of it today. Last time I took all of the lines, no problem. Okay, so when I take these first 3 lines, what are they going to do? And let's delete demo file.txt, or we can even just call it something new today. I'm going to, I've seen a lot of frogs in the news recently, so I've got frogs on the mind, so I'm going to call this ribbit.txt, okay? And I'm going to say, oh no, I frog got what I was going to say. It's okay if you're not having fun today, I am. Okay, so what is going on here? And we should look at each one of these lines. Okay, so I said I was going to start with these 3 lines. I lied. I'm going to start with one of them. And I'm going to say f open ribbit.txt w. I'm going to run that. And what happens? Ribbit.txt shows up over here. Okay? There's nothing in it because I didn't write anything to the file. I'm deleting it. What happens if I get rid of the w? We get an error. By default, and let me show you that error. By default, when you try to open a file, you open it in read mode. There's different modes. Why are there different modes? Maybe that's like a don't ask me angle. Like, this wasn't my idea. There's a historical reason there was different modes, and we just still have the different modes like 50 years later. Okay, so when I just naively or defaultly or whatever open a file, it is expected that the file is going to be read, not written to. In that case, I can only open files that already exist. Now I'm going to do a complex series of operations. I'm going to open a file to be read. That file will then exist. We see ribbit over here. Good old ribbit. Kermit the Frog here, right? Like that. And then once we have created the ribbiter, we can remove the write mode, and then we can, without error, open the file in read mode and potentially do things with it. So those are the different steps we can go through. Okay. Now, let's take a look at the next line here. What does this do? This takes a file named f, looks inside that file to see if it has the verb write. So f.write is the write that exists within the file. And I'm going to take that f.write, I'm going to treat it as a function, and I'm going to say, I would like to f.write the text, oh no, I forgot what I was going to say. So what is going to happen here? We're going to open the file, we're going to write to the file, that text should be transmitted to the file. Now, this code is not going to work, so take 5 seconds and guess why you think this code isn't going to work. The reason this code doesn't work is because though I am opening the file ribbit.txt, because I'm not providing a mode for which I open the file. It is opening to be read. If it is opened to be read, I cannot write to the file. So, in order to open a file and write to a file, I must place a W here. And then I am able to write to rivet.txt, and the text shows up. So, some notes to have here quickly. You cannot open a file that does not exist in read mode. You cannot write to a file in read mode. Write mode, both, it deletes an existing file of that name, if it exists. I'm going to put these on their own lines. And creates a new file of that name that is blank. What was that? Oh, I heard the sound of someone not believing me. Okay, not to worry. I'm going to demonstrate it. You kept your disbelief relatively quiet so far, but I caught you there the second time. So here's rivet.text. I'm going to right-click the top of this. I'm going to go down and I'm going to click split right. I never remember how to do this. I was actually just practicing last night and I forgot this feature existed. So maybe this is a nice feature that you want to use in your VS Code. It is up to you. You never have to use this. So what am I going to do? I'm going to comment out this line. And then I am going to run this code. Now, because I am opening rivet.txt in write mode, it is going to delete the existing file of that name if it exists, and create a new file of that name that is blank. I will just perceive that as the text disappearing from this file, which it does, because I created a new file of that name. The old file of that name no longer exists. What is this exactly the same as? If I put 10 squared in x, and then I set x equal to 0, I can no longer see the 10 squared that I created. So file names are similar to variable names. That's why we sort of teach them all at the same time. Okay. Now, rivet.txt exists, so I am able to open it in read mode. And I can also leave out the R to get read mode. So there's two ways to do read mode. I'm pretty sure it's called modes. I might be making up that it's a mode. So don't sue me if that's true. Okay. I'm able to open rivet.txt if it exists. And if it does not exist, I'm going to delete rivet.txt, right? Move to trash. It's gone on my screen because there's nothing I can open. This will draw an error. Okay. So, what can we do? We can write to the file. And again, I cannot write unless I'm in write mode. So, we throw a W in there. And then we can write, and then we can see that we are riveting. If you were to refer to this lecture as riveting, that would be fun, like riveting. Get it? Like, okay. Okay, some of you got it, and some of you maybe got it and just don't think it's funny, and both of those are valid. Okay, so that leads to a great question, which is why is f.close there? Well, let's go down to some of the other lines that were present in our original example. So I'm going to f.open rivet.txt in read mode, and we won't worry about that next line now, so I'm going to comment that out, and we're gonna not worry about that. Okay, so what does f.close accomplish? So f is referring to rivet.txt, it's just a name for it. In fact, I could change all of my f's to rivet. No one can stop me, right? I'm allowed to do this. That's totally fine, right? And so, what's going on here? Well, if I have ribbit equals the open, and then I'm writing to it, one of the things that is supposed to happen is no one else is supposed to be able to mess with that file while I'm working on it. So I'm going to say, instead of saying ribbit here, I'm going to say probably other, and I'm going to try and open ribbit.txt to write. Now, what should happen here? Well, if two different people are trying to write to the file at the same time, we have already shown it's dangerous when you open the file again. And so you're going to sort of delete and overwrite each other. So this should be bad. There's a variety of things that can happen here that we might be able to think about. Maybe all of the text in the file is getting deleted. Maybe we just can't open the file while it's opened by someone else. I don't know. So we're going to run this code and we're going to check it. And what happens? So let's see. Oh, it said ribbit instead of frog. Get it? Because I replaced all of my F's with ribbits. So this says ribbit regot instead of frogot. That's so funny. I didn't even check. Oh yeah, look, it's all up here. That's hilarious. Okay, we're gonna undo that. I forgot that there was F's in other words. Okay. So I think this is allowed. Okay, and then we change this to a right. And then what happens? Pretty weird. Split right. Okay. So last time we opened a file to write it. It deleted all of the contents, and then we couldn't see anything in the file. But when I'm running this and I'm opening it, and nothing's getting deleted and destroyed, right? And I don't even know if I can write to this. I am line 17, ribbiting noises. Does anyone have like a really good ribbit you can do? Okay, I don't know that I've heard a ribbit. I just know of ribbiting by reputation. Okay. That might not be what you expected to see. So what's happening here is each of those letters in the file is staying in the same place, and we just start at the beginning of the file and write our new shorter letters, and then all of the letters at the end remain. Maybe that's like super bad and not something you intend. How do we solve that problem? Well, there's a few ways around that. First, I can just not reopen that. In this case, I will just append or concatenate my text onto the end. That's the same as adding two strings together. So this is the same as if I just did a plus there, okay? Why is that? Because within F, the name of the file, or perhaps ribbit, keeps track of where in the file you have read up to or written up to. Is that mad goofy? Yeah, it is. You have read up to or written up to. So, when I create a new F, it says, oh, start writing at the beginning of the file. But when I'm using my old F, it says, oh, you'll start writing at the end of the file. And that's the difference between these two things. Okay. Now, we're going to put this back in, and we're going to see what happens again, and it's going to put I am line 17 riveting noises on top of the other text, okay? So, riveting noises, ing to say, okay? What is one way around this? Well, we can get another type of behavior, perhaps the third and final type of behavior, by first closing the file. So, If I were teaching this course on my curriculum, I would just not teach you about closing files. It's a little bit of an antiquated thing that I don't think comes up very often anymore. What do I mean by that? In the olden days, it took minutes to write and read from files. So people would open them, do some operations, and close them. I don't write my code that way anymore. It is considered poor form to do that, but it can be really fast, and we can put more content in a single line of code that happens sort of all at once, which is easier for me to understand. So I am teaching you fclose for a historical reason. Now, that historical reason has become interesting again, because now it takes a long time to read or write to the internet. And the reason that is slow is because sometimes there's internet outages, and I think AWS went down the other day, and like the entire internet crashed and all that stuff, right? So in those cases, there's again reasons to do this slow, cautious, procedural open and close. I'm going to show you how close behaves differently, which is that when I open a file, write to a file, and then close that file, then when I open it again later, I get my third and final form behavior, which is this open, then deletes the contents of that file. Why does it delete the contents of that file now? Because previously, when the file was open, its contents couldn't be deleted. Now the file is not open, so its contents are not protected, so they are overwritten. Let's again just look at the difference here, okay? So this is I am line 17 riveting noises. Oh no, I forgot what I was going to say is gone. If I don't close the file, oh no, I forgot what I was going to say, stays around, but some of it gets copied over. So when we close the file and we write to the same place, we overwrite the contents of the file. When the file is closed, instead of left open, then we overwrite the file itself. How can we think of this? Well, this is not that different from another thing in Python, which is we can think of files as lists. So what I can do is I can take, oh no, I forgot what I was going to say. I'm going to call that letters. But I'm going to make a list of letters. So this is what letters looks like. And then what I can do is I can say, oh, I got some others, which equals the letters of riveting noises. I'm using the term list. I taught you about lists previously. I am inputting a string, and then I'm going to turn that string into a list of characters with the list command. So what can I do here? And then I can say, for I in range length of others, letters I equals others I. And then this gets my letters back. Okay. And we see riveting noises into sing. And we get the same thing back. I'm going to show you one sort of final thing. It is perhaps extremely annoying to look at these letters next to each other and not get to see them as a string. There's two pretty good ways to get back to having a string. Let me show you the most common way. You take a string that has nothing in it. Why do we take the string that has nothing in it? Because we need to use a function or method that is inside of a string, and that is the join. We can't just say join on its own, but if we have a string, we can look for join inside that string, and we have a built-in method join of that string. So we take the empty string, we join on it, and what do we join? Letters. We join the letters together, and they turn back into a string. Is this kind of goofy? Yeah, I pretty much hate this. There's one other way, which is you say s equals to the empty string, and then you say for letter in letters s plus equal letter. And that gives you the same thing back. So these are the two ways to do that. And you knew how to do that second one. Files are like lists. They're like lists of letters. We haven't really dealt with lists of letters. When we've been dealing with letters, we've usually been dealing with strings. When we've been dealing with lists, we've usually been dealing with numbers. Files are like lists of letters. Why is this extremely useful? Well, when you look at an image, it's still a list of letters. It's just those letters are the numbers that describe brightness, right? So this is relatively similar. Okay, I think that's what I wanted to do with files. Did want to show you. Join, okay. Are we all good here? Yes. Okay. Oh, right. Two other things to show you. We should print some stuff out. I'm going to comment out a bunch of things here. And I just want to show you what some of this stuff looks like. Okay, so I'm going to show you what F is. And I'm going to trash can F, which is the value returned by open ribbit.txtw. So that is a file to which I am writing is described this way. This is the name of the thing it is in Python. It is a text IO wrapper. What does that mean? Text, the type of stuff in the file. IO means input or output. Wrapper means that this is not the file itself, but this is a way Python is referring to. So Python sort of is going to wrap up your file like a Christmas present, and it is going to allow you to input or output text to that Christmas present. That's what that means, and that's what this IO means as well. We have the name of our file, ribbit.txt. We have our mode, and we have our encoding. What is this? This is the type of letters that are in the file. This is just the most common standard for letters in computers, but there are others. I have never seen another one. So that's there for safety. And that helps, I think, if you're using another language. So this is very common for English, but I think I had a student that did like a lot of code in like Hebrew a few years ago, and I think that used a different encoding. Let's look at one example. I'm going to change the W to R. And I get in trouble, but we do see one thing first, which is we see the mode changes from W to R. So that is sort of what's going on. This is the first argument of the function. This is the second argument of the function. And for all I know, I can put UTF-8 here and it still works. Ah, not allowed. Okay, that's fine. We tried. Okay. I often write files in a slightly different way, which is that I don't talk about F. I would not encourage you to do this, but I want you to be aware you can do this. So what is happening in these lines here? I'm going to get the code to work again. So the code is running without errors. I don't know what I just typed. I typed a bunch of things I didn't mean to by accident. Okay, so the code is running without errors. What is happening here? Whenever I use a variable in Python, I can take the expression that I have assigned that variable to with single equals, and I can take that variable and I can replace it with that text. So I'm going to take this text or this code or this expression or whatever you want to call it. I'm going to remove that. So I'm going to type on my keyboard Control X, and I'm going to replace this F here. So I'm going to highlight it, and I'm going to do Control V. Then I have this sort of dangling variable. And let's try and get a little more space on my screen. This is a single line file write. Single line file write. And so I can do this without sort of having an F around. If I do this, I think I should still do one other thing, and I don't know if this is allowed, which is I should close the file when I'm done. And that's not allowed. Okay, we tried. So this is a way to write in a single file. You can only do this if you can write all of the contents at once. Otherwise, you have to keep the variable around and add things onto the end. Because otherwise, when you open and close the file, you'll be starting at the beginning again. Does anyone want to ask me any questions about this? Take like 30 seconds and see if you have a question, and then I'll introduce Imageshop.
Is there a way to like write things, so instead of it all being on one line, you can do it on multiple lines as well?
Yes, that's a great question. I'm just going to go back to like everything working again. Let's look at this example. So previously I showed putting everything on one line, right? And I think I did this when writing Mount Everest last time, but it was quick and it was at the end. And generally speaking, the way you want to do this is we use a special character, which is the new line character, which is denoted with \n. So when I use \n, it's not going to print out a \n, it's going to print out a new line. And so the way that visually shows up is the same way as if I press enter. That is one way. Here is the other way. I can use a, excuse me, sorry. I'm going to use a triple quote string, which allows me to have multiple lines within my string. Then I think I can enter inside the string, and I can just put my ribbiting noises directly where they belong, which is right there. I'm going to comment out this line. And what's that going to look like? Oh, I have to trash can. Okay. So, this gets me things on different lines. Why is this a little bit goofy? All that white space at the beginning of the line is caused by like sort of where I wrote this string in my code, it was indented, so that indentation goes into the line. I think this looks awful, like having like being in the middle of a string at the start of a line of code. And it gets much worse than that. If you put this inside an if statement, then the string actually extends further left on your screen than the code. So I don't like that. But you're welcome to do this, right? And most commonly this is done by saying up here, I have some s that equals this thing. And then maybe your indentation is not as annoying. So those are kind of the ways to put in new lines. My favorite is just the \n, but it does look kind of clunky. So I don't always love that either. Great question, thank you. I think, see if I can find Discord. We all love the Discord, don't we, folks? Yes, some murmurs. Let's see. Oh, did I not post the code from last time? Surely. Did I only post the output? Oh no. Is it all gone forever? We're in big trouble, folks. Okay, that's fine. I wasn't attached to that code anyways. Really? How far back can I go in my history here? There it is. Okay. I'm saving this right now. Okay. This is the mountain code. Why did I pull this up? Here's the new line right here. So we were using this last time. Going to run this code quickly with and without the new line so we can look at it. Here's mountain.txt. And I'm zoomed like way more out here. Let's go up to like 80, 40. So here's the mountain. We're very zoomed out, right? I get rid of the new lines. Oops. And then it's all on one line. Okay. How do you redo things? Is it Control R? Let's see. Edit, redo, Control Y. Will I ever get it back? Okay, so all of the work I did for class today, I did just accidentally delete. But That's okay because the lesson today was about accidentally deleting files by writing over them, right? So really, this was part of the object lesson. And not to worry, screen capture was running the whole time. So you can take a screenshot from this, and if you want the code, you can put it in Google Gemini and say, you're a computer, you can read text, right? And it'll read the text on your screenshot, drain a small reservoir in an arid area where people don't have enough clean water to drink. You won't ever know, right? It won't affect you personally, and then you'll have the code back. So I think you should all do that individually instead of one of us doing it once. Okay, thanks. I'm glad we had this talk. Okay. Now I was reading The Oregonian yesterday, and there was this story in there, and like, I don't know anything about nothing is like my official position on everything. But I guess like some company bought a data center, got a contract with Amazon, sold itself to its owners at a reduced price, and then published that they had the Amazon contract and like gave themselves like $17 million or something. Why don't we all do that? That's great. It's like super duper fraud, right? Oregonian, like maybe it's called like Northwave. Does anyone know anything about this? Yeah. Right? So there was like hella fraud recently, right? Anyways, and then there's like some people that live in this area that like can't drink anymore or whatever happens when you have a data center in your town. So yeah. Right? Yeah. Does anyone know where Morrow County is? That did not help at all. It's 6 hours and 5 minutes to Cleveland?
Yeah.
Okay, maybe we mean Oregon?
That's not 6 hours. That's like...
Oh, it's not far. It's like right past the
Ohio,
Dales.
6 hours.
Yeah. Shout
I knew
out.
that was in Ohio. Yeah.
Shout out Ohio. Right?
That's 6 hours.
One of the top 50 states until we add either Puerto Rico or Guam, right? Okay. No. Puerto Rico deserves to be an independent country. Okay, so, I don't even know if I'm allowed to say that in class. I am a United States nationalist and I support the federal government. Okay, so, I don't know if I'm allowed to say that in class. I have no opinions about anything. I am depicting a character, and my character's opinions are neither the opinion of the actor or of the institution. Okay, there we go. I think that's safe. Okay. The Python package used to implement Piggle also supports a mechanism to choose files interactively, made available through the filechooser.py library module. Okay. Imageshop. Do I have the code even ready yet? Wait, maybe I can I click on this one? This is last year, don't click on this. No, okay, I got banned. I'm just gonna show you what it looks like. Where is it? So, today I was opening text files, and I was opening text files inside a script. This is an easy way to do things. The hard way to do things is through a graphical user interface. On Imageshop, which is project 3, or what? Why does that say 5? It's 3. I can't count. Okay, that's not true. I can count. I can. I'm good at things. Okay, I'm good and I'm valid and I'm worthy, and so are all of you. Okay, so, anyways, we're going to give you something called filechooser.py. This is how you use it. Okay. Well, you have a problem set due on Monday. The next project will be due the week afterwards. What was I think? How tired was I when I wrote this? I confused 3 and 5, and then I wrote the term afterwards, unironically. And I checked these slides yesterday to make sure they made sense.
I was reading this before class and I saw that and I got confused.
Yeah, I'm confused. Imagine how confused I was when I wrote it. Okay, take a moment today to introduce Imageshop, and the guide will be posted by tomorrow. Okay. Imageshop initially only has 2 buttons. Okay, so remember Wordle? When you downloaded Wordle, popped it up, and there's like a bunch of stuff there. And then in Breakout, you downloaded it, you popped it up, and there was no stuff there, right? You had to put all the stuff there, right? Imageshop is smack dab in the middle of how much stuff there is there, right? It has a little bar on the left side, Why do people always say left-hand side, right? Like, what if I didn't have hands, right? On the left side, and one of them says load, and one of them says flip vertical. Flipped vertical is example code provided to you, and what does it do? It takes an image and it turns it upside down. Now, far be it from me to give away a solution on an assignment, right? That would be cringe and not at all based, right? But like, say I had some code and I had like a mountain or something, and I was trying to turn that mountain upside down. We can all imagine this, right? Can you imagine this? Okay. Oh, I need to put in my new lines again. Work. Okay. Does that look like a mountain? Okay. This is maybe what a mountain looks like. All right. We could zoom in and zoom out and stuff, but wait, can I do that? Okay. There's the mountain. And for some reason, it also made this other code really small, which is going to make it hard to edit. So we're going to ambiguify it again. What am I doing here? Well, I'm saying for rows and columns, right? So if I want to flip this vertically, all I have to do is go through the rows backwards, right? And we're geniuses. We know how to do that. You put a negative here. And then the mountain is upside down, right? That's like an entire milestone. Don't tell anyone I told you how to do this, okay? All right. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, well, but that only works on rows. What if I have to flip something horizontally, right? That would probably be super hard, right? I would probably have to change where I put the minus sign, right? No, I'm kidding. Before I did this like elaborate like comedy routine in class, people freaked out and came to my office hours about this, and that's totally fine. But oh, it's backwards, and we can tell because the cloud was going off in the other direction, right?
What if you did both?
What do you think would happen? Let's do both.
Make it upside down and backwards.
I think and I actually think of this as rotating it, because this is actually the same as spinning it, too. See, like, so I can move my monitor right, but if you stood on your head, this would look the same as it did before, right? Okay. Well, I sure hope I don't get in trouble for that. Okay. Big picture. Each milestone. You add a new button. How do you add a new button? It's going to be an event listener. That's what they're going to be. And so basically through this assignment, you're going to write an event listener. You're going to write the function that does the operations to the pixel array. And so you're going to press a button. Python's going to go in. It's going to activate the event listener. The event listener is going to do something to the image. It's going to display the image. And then you're going to be happy. You're going to go, yay, right? Okay. You're always free to write whatever other helper functions you might like. But we are also introducing one thing on this assignment, which is grayscaleimage.py. We're recommending you use multiple files and use them with import. So how could we do this? Well, let's see, Control N. Pixels to text. I'm going to create a function that takes the pixels and turns them into text. I'm going to define that function. Exactly when I wrote that, did you notice the syntax highlighting pop up at some point there when I wrote def? That's when VS Code could correctly guess I was writing Python. Watch this, D-E-F space, it guessed, good job. Here is the code I wrote that does that. Is this going to work? Kind of. Oh, did you say something over there?
You need a colon.
I need a colon at the top. We got the colons at the top. I'm referring to gimages here. So I have to, from Piggle, import gimage, and something else is wrong? Help. We'll just call it help. Okay. I need somebody, not just anybody. You know, I need someone. Help! Okay, all right. Is art the name of the window? No. Oh, well, this is actually super easy, right? Because I'm opening that in write mode, I can just provide that as an argument. Well, this is way easier, right? Wait, what is art? I'm just going to take this too. Okay. I think that's fine. I don't think I'm breaking any rules here. Okay. So this is pixels to text, and it's going to save something as mountain.w. Okay, so currently mountain is, I think it's like upside down and everything. Yeah, that's bad. Okay. I wish there was some way to use VS Code, but I don't know. Okay, so let's say we want to write help that is not doing a flipperoonie. So this is the unflipped pixels to text, okay? We've seen this code before. It does this like red check. If this code is confusing to you, that is at this time being declared a U problem. Not previously, just effective immediately. Okay. We'll make it small again. So I'm going to go every 80th row and every 40th column or whatever. I don't know. Okay. So I took this code here, and it disappeared. So now I'm going to delete mountain.txt. It's gone. It's banished. Sent to the shadow realm. And if I run this code, nothing happens, right? It's a little bit slow. See, it takes a moment to pop up. Thinking. Done. Okay. And that's because it has to get all those pixels, right? But that's no trouble. What I can do, split right, is I can use my function from help.py in my dothing.py. And how am I going to do that? Well, I'm actually going to do it the same way I use PGL. I'm going to say from help import pixels. I'm going to say star because I'm not going to type that. You're going to say pixels to text because you are students and you, when you're my age, you can, okay, all right. So, okay, pixels to text pixels. Okay. Mountain.txt popped up. This is what it looks like. It looks like a mountain. One other way to do this, I can just say import help. Is that against the law? Yes, that's extremely against the law. This isn't working, right? Why is that not working? Because I have to say help dot pixels.txt. So there's two ways to do this. I would probably do this for the later milestones. If I'm writing more than 4 or 5 lines of code, just put it in a new file. We have all of the instructional staff, we have wandered around watching students looking at lines of or files that are like 700 lines long, like trying to find things in them. Don't do that to yourself. I mean, you can do that to yourself. It doesn't really affect me. But here's the alternative. So maybe don't do that to yourself. Okay. I have actually not seen you struggle to find individual lines of code this year, but we were really riding the struggle bus last year. The struggle bus was stopping at every stop and letting on more strugglers. We're going to provide a G button. The G button is the shape that looks like this. This looks like load or flip vertical. So you get a G button, and I don't know who is responsible for putting the spaces in these slides. Look, I'm doing my best, right? Like, there's a lot of really good ballets going on in Portland right now, so I'm quite busy. Yeah, okay. So each G button needs a label and a corresponding function. Now, it doesn't need a G label. It just needs a string. So the string is going to show up on the G button. These are basically rectangles with G labels on them. Okay. We're going to provide an add button function to take care of the tedium. And so all you have to do is provide a label and an action, and that's provided for you. By default, the way Imageshop works, if you don't break it, which you're allowed to break it as long as you also fix it, right? If you get too scrambled in your mind on this one, that's a start over angle. Keep your old code, reference it, in case there's stuff in there that really helps. But just take another one from the website and just start again. GW.currentImage So this is a thing inside GW. This is like GW.vol, right? Remember GW.vol bouncing around, having a grand old time. Now we have GW.currentImage. GW.currentImage describes the currently displayed image. So there's always going to be images in Imageshop. You should use, in theory, the setImage function to update GW.currentImage. Okay, milestone 1 has you adding a flip horizontal button. I bet that's really hard. And so if you get stuck on that, do not check these slides from today, okay? There's nothing that can help you on this. But if there were something that could help you on this, it wouldn't be in today's slide, so you should look somewhere else first, okay? The next thing you should do, or the next thing you have to do, is a rotate. Okay, fair enough. This one involves some overhead, right? I am incapable of perceiving rotations as going left or right because they're radial movements, they're not lateral movements. So I think the instructions refer to rotating images left and right, and I had to think of that as clockwise and counterclockwise. Have all of you heard the like righty-tighty, lefty-loosey thing, right?
That doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any, thank you, yes! I feel valid. I've never felt valid before. That's a strange feeling. Okay, I'm not going to get used to it. Okay, so this image is intended to help you. What is going on here? Well, if you take an image, marker, if you take an image and you rotate it clockwise, all of the information that is in, so if we divide it up, we can think of it as taking the information in the top left and moving it to the top right. We take the information in the top right and move it to the bottom right. We take the information in the bottom right and move it to the bottom left. And we take the information in the bottom left and move it to the top right. How can we think of that? Well, that's the same thing as changing the x and y coordinates. We can think of this as being 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 1, and 1, 0. And so we can say, 0, 0 becomes 0, 1. What does this mean? Well, we're going to take the y value and set it equal to the x value. And then we're going to take the x value, or whatever, and we're going to subtract it from the length. Work this out yourself. Look at this slide. But here's a good example. If this thing, if its highest coordinate is 5, 0, 0 becomes 5, 0. And this 2, 0 here will rotate over to the same place. So this column will stay in order. I'm hoping you're okay at rows and columns from the midterm, so you should have a slight advantage on this. And if you don't, that's okay. Don't worry about it. Okay. Milestone 3, you're going to convert an image to grayscale. This one's not that bad. You basically take out the colors, apply a function to the colors, and then put that one brightness in all of the colors. Milestone 4 is a green screen effect. Green screen effect is what we did with the mountain and the cat, where we detect where the background is and where the foreground is. The only difference is instead of throwing zeros or dots in there, is that a 0? Yeah, zeros or dots. You're going to decide which image you display at that location. So for example, if I don't know, put sunglasses on. I don't know how to draw sunglasses, so they're going to look like this. Is that okay? Are those good sunglasses? Do we like those? Kind of feels like there's a lot of haters on the prowl today. And that's okay, right? If these sunglasses were green, we would simply get rid of all of the information at those locations and replace it with something else. And I don't know what that would be. All right. So this code is very, very close, very, very close to the green screen code. The difference is, instead of writing row strings and writing them to files, you have to write an image to current image. So you're going to create a new pixel array, and you're going to write different things to different pixels. We have also shown how to write different things to different pixels with the gradients. So you've seen that as well. Okay. Last one's the hard one, sorry. Increase contrast in images to make them easier to see. This will be less hard after you've done the previous things because you'll have built up to it, and it will be less hard after you've done histogram. What do? You take every single pixel and you calculate their luminosity. What is luminosity? It's the grayscale brightness. So you take every single image pixel and you see how bright it is. Then you plot a histogram of how bright it is. Then you plot a cumulative histogram of how bright it is. And a cumulative histogram is you add the all of the previous entries in the histogram to the current entry in the histogram. And then what you're going to do is you're going to accordion out or stretch that histogram to put different colors in different bins of brightness. And then you will change the brightness of every pixel based on how bright it should be to have an even level of brightness. Is that hard? Yes, good luck. See you Monday? Monday? Have a nice weekend.